A lot of our movie tastes come from our parents. They were the ones who showed us films they loved, often ones they have great memories of. But sometimes those movies turn into awkward memories when that one scene pops up on screen. To avoid those awkward worthy moments, here's a list of upcoming movies you definitely shouldn't watch with your parents. Presents. Steven Soderbergh's got a big year ahead in 2025, kicking off with Presents, a spooky flick that premiered at the 2024 Sundance Film Festival and is hitting theaters on January 17, 2025. But fair warning, this one's not exactly family-friendly. With an R rating for violence, drugs, strong language, sexuality, and teen drinking, it's sure to give you chills as it takes you through a creepy haunted house. The plot follows a family who moves into their dream home, only to discover a supernatural presence that watches them during their most vulnerable moments, particularly fixating on the daughter. The film promises a terrifying experience, with its first-person POV approach, making the audience feel as though they are the ones being watched by the entity lurking in the house. The plot revolves around a family of four who move into what appears to be their dream home, only to discover an unsettling presence that watches them at their most vulnerable moments. This paranormal entity becomes especially fixated on the daughter. What's unique about Presence is its first-person POV approach, where the camera represents the ghostly force observing the family. The cast includes Lucy Liu, Chris Sullivan, Kailina Liang, and Eddie Madai, with Julia Fox making an appearance. The script is written by David Koepp, and the film will be released by Neon, the studio behind Longlegs, another successful 2024 horror film. The inspiration for Presence comes from a real-life house that Soderbergh once lived in, which had a dark history, including a murder that occurred there before he moved in. After this supernatural thriller, Soderbergh's year will continue with his spy thriller Black Bag, starring Michael Fassbender and Cate Blanchett, bringing even more intrigue to the director's 2025 slate. Mickey 17. Bong Joon-ho's Mickey 17 has wrapped post-production, and the MPA has officially given it an R rating due to violent content, language throughout, sexual content, and drug material. The rating isn't too surprising, especially since the main character, played by Robert Pattinson, has to go through several deaths in the storyline. It's worth noting that Bong Joon-ho's previous film, Parasite, also featured its fair share of nudity and taboo scenes. While these moments were crucial to the story and helped the film's themes, they certainly weren't the kind of scenes you'd want to watch with your parents. Bong has a knack for blending uncomfortable, taboo elements with storytelling that pushes boundaries, making his films both great and occasionally shocking. The film adapts Edward Ashton's novel Mickey 7, but Bong took it further by adding 10 extra reincarnations of the character. This creative choice is sure to bring more intensity and depth to the story, as Mickey faces even more challenges and transformations. A trailer for Mickey 17 dropped a few weeks ago, and while its comedic moments didn't land well with some viewers, the Korean version of the trailer offers a completely different tone. This one focuses more on drama and tension, suggesting it's targeting a different audience altogether. Earlier this year, Bong Joon-ho's highly anticipated $150 million sci-fi film was delayed to a less-than-ideal release date of January 31, 2025. Bong had initially hoped for a premiere at Cannes, but Warner Brothers pushed it to the quieter January slot. Despite this, Bong's track record means we can't count him out. He's proven time and again that he knows how to deliver, no matter the circumstances. Sinners. Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan are teaming up again for Sinners, set to release on March 7, 2025. Known for their powerful collaborations in Black Panther, Creed, and Fruitvale Station, the duo is taking on the horror genre this time. In this historical vampire drama, Michael B. Jordan plays twin brothers who uncover dark, supernatural forces lurking in their southern hometown during the Jim Crow era. As with Coogler's other work, Sinners will explore themes around race and the Black experience, specifically focusing on the South in the early 1900s. Fans are excited to see how Coogler combines the supernatural elements of vampire lore with the real-life horror of racial injustice from that time, and how Jordan brings this vision to life. I'm also thinking this will be an R-rated movie from what I've seen from the trailer. By the way, the trailer is amazing. It's dark and gritty and does not give away the story at all. Ballerina. The MPA hasn't given From the World of John Wick Ballerina a rating yet, but it's pretty safe to assume it'll be R, just like the previous films in the franchise, known for their over-the-top violent kills. Given the lead actress Ana de Armas has done nude scenes before, it's likely to follow the same path. Coming on June 6, 2025, Ballerina will take us back into the world of high-stakes assassins, bulletproof suits, and secret societies. Directed by Len Wiseman, known for Underworld and Live Free or Die Hard, the film stars Ana de Armas as a deadly ballerina trained in the Ruska Roma traditions, the same crime family John Wick hails from, which also trains female assassins in the art of both murder and ballet. It's also been reported that the movie will follow de Armas' character as she seeks revenge on the villains who killed her parents. Joining the blonde star, Anjelica Huston will reprise her role as the director. The late Lance Reddick will return as Continental concierge Sharon. Ian McShane will charm everyone as Continental head Winston, and Keanu Reeves will appear as John Wick. The film is reportedly a midquel, taking place between the third and fourth John Wick movies. Newcomers to the film include Gabriel Byrne, Norman Reedus, Catalina Sandino, David Castaneda, and Sharon Duncan Brewster. The original script was written by Shay Hatton, who worked on John Wick Chapter 3 and 4, with rewrites by Emerald Fennell of Saltburn and Promising Young Woman. Interestingly, Ballerina was originally scheduled for release in 2024, but franchise overseer Chad Stahelski was brought in to help Len Wiseman shoot some new action scenes, pushing the release date back. 28 days later. The first film had an R rating, and the second one did too, so it'd be surprising if this new one didn't follow suit. Right from the start, there's a bedroom scene with the main couple, which pops up again later. There's also a shower scene where a woman's body is partially visible, a guy's bulge that gets a quick mention, and a brief elevator scene with two characters having sex. We also see a bare-chested guy in a bedroom scene, zipping up his pants, with a woman wrapped in a sheet next to him, hinting that they just hooked up. And that's all just in the first movie. So it's safe to say that the third movie won't be a movie that you should watch with your parents. Aside from all that, the original 28 Days Later is considered a zombie classic that horror fans have been loving for 20 years. Directed by Danny Boyle and written by Alex Garland, it breathed new life into the zombie genre and kicked off a wave of similar films in the 2000s. The 2007 follow-up, 28 Weeks Later, didn't quite hit the same mark with fans, partly because it didn't involve the original team. But now, 2 decades later, the long-awaited direct sequel 28 Years Later is finally happening, reuniting the director, writer, and lead actor from the first movie. 28 Years Later is set to release on June 20th, 2025, but this time it's not 20th Century Fox handling the distribution, it's Sony Pictures releasing. They're also backing the follow-up Part 2, which has already been greenlit. Filming officially started in May 2024, and within 2 months, word came that shooting had wrapped, suggesting a tight production schedule to meet that June 2025 release date. Usually, studios wait to see how a movie performs at the box office before committing to a sequel, but in this case, Part 2 is already locked in. Both parts of 28 Years Later are being shot back-to-back, with Part 1 done filming and Part 2 already underway. As for a potential third film, that'll probably depend on how the first two do. Cillian Murphy has confirmed he'll be back as Jim, though with a new twist. Given it's been over 20 years since the original film, a lot has happened in the story's world, so fans shouldn't expect the same Jim they remember. Murphy is also stepping into an executive producer role for this one. In a chat with Variety, he shared that 28 Days Later holds a special place in his heart. While he can't give much more at this point, he confirmed his return, saying, "That movie changed everything for me, and I have a great affection for it and for those guys, Alex and Danny. I never watch my own films except that one. It's always on around Halloween, and people were sending me clips during the pandemic. I've even shown it to my kids, and it still holds up even after 23 years. So I'm really thrilled we'll be getting the band back together for this one." 28 Days Later was Murphy's breakout role that jump-started his career and led to his long-standing collaboration with Christopher Nolan. Nolan saw 28 Days Later and reached out to Murphy, so without this role, Murphy's career could have taken a completely different path. The movie itself also made a huge impact, breathing new life into the zombie genre. Before 28 Days Later, there weren't that many zombie movies. It was kind of a dead genre, Murphy told Variety, so Danny and Alex rebooted it. Murphy also recalled his nerves on set, especially during a scene with Brendan Gleeson, his first time acting opposite a well-known star. "I remember having to pour him a pint of Guinness, and my hand was shaking," he said. He also shared that they filmed 2 endings, one where Jim survived and another where he didn't. They ultimately chose the happy ending, which is what made 28 Years Later possible. Now, in addition to the big news that Cillian Murphy is returning, we'll see Killing Eve's Jodie Comer, Aaron Taylor Johnson, and Ralph Fiennes joining the project. Jack O'Connell and Aaron Kellyman are also on board. While the specific roles are still unknown, O'Connell is expected to play a supporting character who will take on a lead role in the film's second part. Jodie Comer recently shared that they filmed in Newcastle. While promoting her latest movie, The Bike Riders, she talked about joining such an iconic franchise, saying she's trying not to set too many expectations for herself. "The original was so loved, so I'm trying not to think of that too hard." As for the plot, the exact plot of 28 Years Later is still unknown, with Boyle, Garland, and Murphy keeping the details a secret. But as a direct sequel to 28 Days Later, it's pretty certain zombies will play a major part again. Fans can likely expect Murphy's character Jim to find himself in a world still grappling with the chaos left by the outbreak. In the first film, a virus is unleashed when anti-animal abuse activists release lab animals carrying a deadly infection, which rapidly spreads across the UK, sending infected people into a violent rage. Jim, Murphy's character, wakes up from a coma to find that society has collapsed, with survivors and infected battling for survival. The follow-up, 28 Weeks Later, shifts to a post-apocalyptic UK where the outbreak is somewhat controlled and people are cautiously rebuilding, until the virus resurges, reigniting the nightmare. With 28 Years Later, fans are hoping for an even deeper dive into this chilling world. We do know that the story is planned as a 2-parter, so Part 2 is expected to follow not long after the first. While Danny Boyle is only set to direct the initial installment, it's rumored that Nia DaCosta may step in to direct the sequel, with Alex Garland continuing as the writer. There's also a possibility that Jodie Comer and Aaron Taylor Johnson might return for Part 2, though it's still unclear if Cillian Murphy will be involved in the subsequent films of this potential trilogy. The Naked Gun. This movie definitely doesn't seem like one you'd want to watch with your parents. The first Naked Gun, from the files of Police Squad, had some pretty bizarre sexual references. There's a scene where a woman takes off her clothes and stands in front of a man. You don't see anything, but he does. Then he takes off all his clothes and stands naked in front of her. She tells him they need to practice safe sex, and they end up putting on full-body condoms, rubbing against each other, and falling onto the bed. It's ridiculous, played for laughs, and not graphic at all, but still, it's probably not the kind of scene you'd want to share with your parents. I'm guessing the reboot will be along the same lines. That being said, I'm definitely excited for this movie, especially with the cast they've got lined up. Leslie Nielsen became a legend thanks to roles in Airplane, The Naked Gun, and the TV show Police Squad, with his secret to success being the ability to play every joke completely straight, no matter how absurd it was. So if you're going to reboot something like The Naked Gun, you need someone who can deliver in the same way. Paramount's reboot is bringing in Liam Neeson, and honestly, he's the perfect choice to take over for Nielsen. While Neeson is best known for action movies, he's shown his comedic skills in Life's Too Short and as bad cop good cop in the Lego Movie. Just like Nielsen, Neeson can deliver ridiculous lines with a completely serious expression, which is exactly what this kind of comedy needs. As for the rest of the cast, Paul Walter Hauser will play Neeson's partner Ed, and there's also a pretty impressive lineup including Pamela Anderson, Kevin Durand, Danny Houston, Liza Koshy, CCH Pounder, and even rapper Busta Rhymes. Plus, WWE champion Cody Rhodes will make a cameo. Akiva Schaffer from The Lonely Island is directing and co-writing with Dan Greger and Doug Mand, the trio behind the surprisingly awesome Chippendale Rescue Rangers movie. Schaefer is no stranger to comedy, having also directed Hot Rod and Pop Star Never Stop Never Stopping. With such a talented team involved, we're feeling pretty confident that the Naked Gun reboot will deliver some serious laughs when it hits theaters on July 18, 2025. Frankenstein. Guillermo del Toro is set to bring his unique take on Mary Shelley's Frankenstein to Netflix in 2025, and it's shaping up to be something special. The film has an impressive cast, with Oscar Isaac playing Dr. Frankenstein, Jacob Elordi as the monster, and Mia Goth also joining in. While there was some buzz about Andrew Garfield taking on the monster role, Elordi's tall frame ended up being the winning factor. Fresh off his third Oscar win for Pinocchio, Del Toro's next Netflix project is bound to be another hit. With a timeless story like Frankenstein and Del Toro's artistic touch, plus a stellar cast, this film is sure to be a favorite among movie buffs, probably earning praise like Pan's Labyrinth did. But heads up, this won't be a family-friendly Halloween flick. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is rated R for heavy violence, gore, nudity, brief sex, and some mild profanity. So this new Frankenstein movie from Del Toro is definitely going to be R-rated, especially when you look at the leading cast, both of whom have starred in R-rated projects. But beyond that, Del Toro is known for his distinct storytelling style and stunning visuals, and his films often lean into mature themes, which are reflected in the R ratings. Movies like The Shape of Water and Nightmare Alley are prime examples of Del Toro's approach, with both receiving R ratings for explicit content. Nightmare Alley earned its R for strong, bloody violence, some sexual content, nudity, and language, while The Shape of Water got the same rating for sexual content, graphic nudity, violence, and language. And honestly, both are fantastic films. This trend shows how Del Toro isn't afraid to dive into complex adult themes that push boundaries. Well, that's it. Let me know which movie you are most excited about in the comment section. Subscribe to the channel to get updated regularly with the latest update. Thanks for watching the video, and we'll see you at the next one.